Hey everyone, before we dive in, this is Brooke again, one of your Viterbi admission counselors with a quick update for all USC applicants for fall 2025. March 26th is the big day. First year admission decisions, including those for Viterbi applicants, will be released. Keep an eye on your inbox. You'll get an email letting you know when your decision is ready in your applicant portal. For our transfer applicants, don't worry, your applications are still under review and all decisions or spring grade requests will be sent out by May 31st. We can't wait to welcome our future Trojans. As always, fight on. And now let's get that podcast started.
This is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop on research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared by students, faculty, alumni, and other members of the USC community.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Viterbi Voices. As usual, I am one of your hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma. I'm the executive director. Oh man, I messed that up. I'm the executive director of undergraduate admission here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering. I tried to go too fast and it didn't.
I thought you would have it down by now. It's been 10
I tripped on my own tongue. It was weird.
Hi, everyone. I'm your other co-host. My name is Safi Patel. I'm a senior studying computer science and doing my master's in engineering management.
And joining us today is a new friend to the podcast, a new co-host bringing her own episode. So please introduce yourself, new friend.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I'm a biomedical engineering student from Woodbury, Minnesota, and I'm a first-year student.
First-year student, Sarah, on the podcast. This is it. So a couple questions for you. Woodbury, Massachusetts, correct?
Minnesota.
Did I say Massachusetts? I'm having a rough day today. Minnesota. So coming from Minnesota all the way to USC, you're in your first year. How's it going? How has it lived up to your expectations?
I think it's going really well. I really like USC, and obviously the weather is a lot nicer than here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really liking it.
And you say here in Minnesota because we are officially on spring break. Are you back home recording right now?
I am currently back home recording.
What is the weather like today in Minnesota?
It's in about the 20s or 30s, but people are wandering around without coats because that's what we do.
Do you want to know what it's like right now here?
Yeah.
It's like 70.
70 degrees.
Yeah, I'm excited to come back.
And some of my friends are walking around with like a light jacket on.
Oh, because it's cold. Safi, is what you're saying is that in reference subjectively cold or contextually cold to that. So interesting. Yeah, it is very nice. It is very warm. It is spring has sprung here to be certain, and it's definitely a different world. So, but it's here for when you get back, Sarah. It's coming back. So you're flying back this weekend?
Yes, I'm actually flying back tonight. I'm coming back a little early to explore LA.
Oh, cool. What's on the itinerary? What are you planning to explore?
We're going to head over to Huntington Beach and Huntington Gardens, and then just see where we go from there.
Real quick point. Do you know that those two different places?
Yeah. We're going to try to
really far from one another.
Maybe we should look into that.
They have the same name, but you're talking about like an hour and a half difference.
Oh, shoot. That changes things a little bit.
Yeah, Huntington Gardens is in Los Angeles, and then Huntington Beach is like
in Orange County.
Okay.
So
but you can
as a heads up. Yeah, not a same day thing, but just as a heads up, they are not the same place. So that's an important note for some people that it's named after the same person, but for very different reasons.
Definitely good to know.
Why now I'm curious. Huntington Beach, so many beaches. Why Huntington Beach?
Honestly, I don't know. My friend from NorCal wants to go, and I'm just kind of going. I'm content with literally any beach, but I guess, yeah.
Is your friend from NorCal the one with the car?
No, neither of us have a car.
Okay.
We're going to take like the Metrolink train.
Because I feel like the friend is usually the one that dictates like where the group is.
Where they're going. Yeah. Maybe when we get off this, you and Safia should talk about rethinking some of this plan to make it a little bit easier on you, and how that might be a little bit of a challenge, especially if you're using those are some disparate locations. So we'll talk and get you caught up. But before we do that, Sarah, what is this episode all about?
This episode is all about interviewing different Viterbi students who are also minoring in things completely separate from engineering. So we have people in cinematic arts, people in human rights, people in Spanish, someone doing a minor in like more healthcare. Super interesting just to show the like wide breadth of interests of all of our Viterbi people.
That's fantastic. This is definitely the definition of living up to that philosophy of engineering plus. Studying engineering is definitely what our students are doing, but they're not limiting themselves that way. They explore other types of opportunities and engage in additional curricular programs, whether that's just taking a few classes, maybe putting it together and getting a minor. Some may be so bold as to go after a second bachelor's degree. And I think what's most important that you're really getting at with these examples is disparate or completely different from engineering, which I think is one of the coolest things about USC, that your minor has no reason to be connected or related at all other than it's an interest of yours. So we'll get out of the way, hand it right over to you, Sarah, to talk to this panel of students and a good number of opportunities across that idea of Engineering Plus. And we'll see you on the other side of this episode to chat a little bit further.
Awesome. See you then.
Hi, my name is Ishaani Pradeep. I am a junior. I'm studying biomedical engineering, and I have a minor in cinematic arts.
Cool. And what made you decide to pursue your minor in cinematic arts?
So film is really important to me. It's something that I wanted to minor in regardless of the university that I attended. I think film like helped me grow up. It helped me get through a lot of things. And I loved like looking at the artistic choices that artists made in films. And it was just something that like as a kid, people used to put on a movie for me and ask me to predict the ending. Like it was just something that I loved ever since I was a kid. It helped like unite families. It helped me like connect with people. And so film has really been important to me. And when I got into USC, I was like, there's genuinely no better place to pursue my minor in cinematic arts than USC, the school, one of the best cinematic arts schools in existence. So I decided to declare my minor in cinematic arts. I declared it like first semester coming in, which is not the case with a lot of people, but I did.
So cool. So does your minor relate to your major at all, or is it more just because you're like interested in it?
It's more just because I'm interested in it, but I found something really interesting when I took a cinematography free class last semester. A lot of the research I did was in optics. So I worked in a microscope lab my freshman year, and then my internship last semester was in imaging. And so I think that it was really interesting that like cinema kind of all tied it all together. Like a lot of the imaging I was doing with my like C. elegans in my first semester, as well as the imaging that I was doing at the hospital, like connected to like a lot of the film stuff I was learning in my cinematography class. So I think it kind of shows that everything does tie together. Not that I needed it to tie together or wanted it to tie together, but it is interesting that everything comes together.
That's really so cool. Um, so how does it work for you to fit in your minor courses around your major? Because I know our major has a lot of requirements.
Yeah, our major is very chock full. Biomedical engineering is no joke. So to fit it in, I actually came in with a good amount of credits from high school. So these are AP credits. So I had no issues fitting it in. However, there was a point I declared a second minor. In that case, I was kind of struggling to fit it in. So I was on AAA, so the Academic Achievement Award for 3 semesters actually, because I did have
Whoa.
minors for a while. I had it my entire sophomore year and my junior fall. So I had another minor in biopharmaceuticals, and that's another 20 unit minor. So there was two 20-unit minors, 40 additional units, and that did struggle to fit in. So I took differentials over the summer after my freshman year. And I was on AAA. So I took 19 credits my sophomore. No, I took 20 credits my sophomore fall. I took 19 sophomore spring, and I took 21 last semester,
That's
which was
crazy.
a lot.
Yeah.
But I think if you manage it with the right classes, it's not too overwhelming. I didn't have as many lab classes last semester, so the 21 honestly seemed less than like the 18 I'm taking now.
So what made you choose to drop the second minor?
So I declared the second minor because I thought it would bring like an interesting perspective because it's biopharmaceuticals and working in BME. I was like, oh, it'll be interesting to look at the drug development side of things. So I took an upper division course in that. So I took lower division and I took an upper division course in that class. And as I was going through the upper division course, I did learn a lot of interesting things. I just didn't feel like it brought as much to my college education as I had hoped. Like I wasn't enjoying it that much, and I didn't think it was bringing extensive new knowledge that I hadn't known or I wouldn't be able to like pick up through my own through my own like understanding or like biomedical engineering, as well as I realized that it took a lot of hours and I would rather put hours into something that like I'm slightly more passionate about or would further my education more. And as someone that is looking to go into perhaps a PhD route, I really wanted to put a lot more hours into my lab. So I took the decision. I talked to a lot of my roommates who are older, and have great offers, and I was talking to them about like the process of should I keep this minor or should I spend more time in lab? And they were essentially saying, because they're graduating or have graduated, were telling me that essentially to put more time into things that you think will further your career and like follow your passions. And I didn't feel like that minor was doing either for me. So I dropped the minor and I'm putting in like almost double the hours in my lab, which I love. Like everyone is like, oh, like I can't believe you're still at lab, but I genuinely love every minute of it. I feel like I kind of use a part of my brain that I like love. So
That totally makes sense. Yeah. So circling back to your cinematic arts minor, do you talk about it in like interviews and such? Like, or do you use it as like your proving you have a passion outside of engineering? Like, does it tie into that?
yeah, I do talk about it in like almost all my interviews because my introduction is, hi, I'm Ishaani, I'm medical engineering, cinematic arts minor. And there's so many people that have been so interested by it. Like I think almost every interviewer has asked me a question about it. And it's not even like, oh, I'm faking it. I'm like, I do have a passion. I genuinely just
Oh
love it.
yeah.
I can sit and like something that I can just talk about forever. So that's when you asked me to be on this podcast. I was like, that's so great. But yeah, I talk about it a lot. I just recently directed my first like really short film. I say short film,
Oh
like
my
it's
gosh,
very
that's
short.
so cool.
My last semester in my cinematography class. And so yeah, so I think that it is something that comes up a lot in interviews. It does show passion and it's like super just fun to talk about. So yeah.
That's so cool. What classes have you taken for your minor? Like, what do they normally entail?
I love cinematic arts because it's a super diverse minor. So you can pick a lot within the cinematic arts school. There's like screenwriting minors, production minors. But I kind of wanted to pick cinematic arts because there's like a broad scope. So I took intro to cinematic arts, which is a GE. So that was also helpful because it knocked out
Oh yeah.
credits, as well as working towards it's a requirement for the minor. And then I took a screenwriting class, which was super fun, where they brought in like writers of the Harry Potter game. It was super cool.
Wow.
I ended up winning a wand made by like the guy that makes wands for the movies.
Wait, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. My sister had the great Christmas gift that year because she's a massive Harry Potter fan. Um, and then I took another screenwriting class, which was super fun. I'm taking a screen. I do really like screenwriting. Taking another screenwriting class right now. But I took two cinematography classes. So one was on motion picture editing, which was super fun. I know how to use Avid now, and it's a skill set that I never would have picked up otherwise. And cinematography, which is a class I took last semester, and I was able to like learn about all the different roles in cinematography. I was the gaffer, light, sound, like it was amazing, and I learned so much from that class. And yeah, those are probably some of my favorite minor classes I've taken so far.
That's so cool. Your minor sounds so fun, actually. That's amazing. Do you have any advice you'd give to someone who's like either in high school or like earlier in engineering that is considering a minor?
Yeah, of course. I think that just like really, like I said, it that with the biopharmaceutical ones, I think it kind of shows pick something you're passionate about, or you pick something that you think will like help you like gain a new skill set, or like learn something new that you want to learn that you might not be able to learn A on your own, B maybe without USC's resources. I know a lot of people declare Marshall minors because they just want to look like they want to live vicariously through Marshall, and that's honestly phenomenal because they have the resources, and it's not like you're going to get it anywhere else. So try to find like one of the two. Try to find something you're super passionate about that you love. Go for it. You can like work around your schedule. Again, AAA makes it super accessible to fit it into your 4 years. There are also summer classes that you can take. I know that's usually at an additional cost. Um, but like maybe finding a community college if you're really passionate about your minor, take it at and to take the classes at and then take your minor at USC. And yeah, I say totally go for it. It's super great for me because I'll go from something like organic chemistry lab where I'm sitting there for 3 hours and I'm like titrating and in pain to something like my screenwriting class where I'm having like the best time of my life. They're usually long, they're like 3 hours, but for 3 hours as well, two 3 hour classes, but one of them brings me joy, one of them brings me pain. So definitely pick something that you love, you enjoy, and go for it. I honestly say don't hold back. Don't think, oh, like I don't know if I can. I don't know if it'll be a lot of extra work. If you're passionate about it, it doesn't feel like extra work. Like it honestly feels like I'm taking one less class every semester because one of them is cinematic arts.
Cool, cool. Since you like have experience balancing so many credits and lab at the same time, do you have any advice in regard to just like balancing coursework and time management?
Yeah, time management is huge. So I'm not a Google Calendar girl. I know everyone is. I'm an Apple Calendar girl. Got into some arguments with my friends on
Hot
that one.
take, actually. Yeah,
It's
that's crazy.
such a hot take. I didn't realize it was until like someone was sending me an invite to something, and I like went into like it was a Google Calendar invite, but if you scroll down, you can like download it as like an Apple Calendar
Oh my
invite.
God.
And I did that, and she's like, I've never seen anyone do that in my entire 20 years of life. And I was like, sorry. But I put everything in my calendar. I think that's useful. And then I think the most useful thing is I've learned this over the semesters. It's before the semester starts, really sit down and like work through your schedule in your head. Like break it down, see what works. Also realize that you can move classes around. This is something freshman year I didn't realize. You can pick your classes in college and like not in like you can pick what classes you're taking, but you can pick where and what you're taking. So you can pick in your schedule. Maybe you want to have a more morning class heavy day. You know that you have something on Wednesday, so you don't want to have a late night Tuesdays, or you know you have a lighter Wednesday. So I've taken a lot of late night Tuesday classes because my Wednesdays have like generally been lighter. I haven't had lab on Wednesdays, I think, ever. Versus like I won't take a Monday late class because my lab's on Tuesday. Like I think you just like work with yourself, break it down, like do different scenarios, try to fit everything in. I remember doing that for the past like 3 semesters. I think I've sat down before the semester started and like put all my potential classes in and then fit in lab, fit in internship, fit in club meetings and see if it works. And if it doesn't, like really give myself grace. Be like, okay, like this is not like this semester for me. I was like, this is not the semester for AAA. And I don't need it anymore, frankly. And I could have done it. I applied for it. I did get accepted and I put it in and I was like, with the classes that I'm taking, like I'm taking biochemistry and I'm taking organic chemistry right now. I
Oh
don't
gosh,
think it
yeah.
would be exactly. I was like, I don't think it's the best option. Like it's unoptimal for me to take extra units with these two difficult classes. So I think like giving yourself grace, planning it out, seeing if it works, and if it doesn't, it's okay. Like it's really fine. It's flexible. You can find a semester where it works. Talk to upperclassmen, I think is super helpful. Because they'll tell you they'll be like, this class, like it's upper division, but it's less work than it seems. Or this class, it's not as high up, but like this took up most of my semester. Don't take anything else with it. And I think like leveraging upperclassmen, using your schedule, working it out, and like again, like know that you're a student, know that like the other things matter to you, and just like give yourself just a minute to just breathe.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Thank you so much. Do you have anything else to add regarding your minor or life in general?
Yeah, so I honestly, and this is me pitching like any cinematic arts minor. They're so much fun. You meet a lot of interesting people. Like I've met some
Definitely.
people. There's a girl that I met in my screenwriting class last spring actually. And I didn't know that she was an actress until the last day of class. She was like one of my really good friends in the class. Like we played, she was a freshman, I was a sophomore, and we'd like joke around and we had a lot of fun in that class. Everyone gets super close in these classes because they're pretty small. Um and like a lot of them are small, some of them are like massive. But I got close to this one girl and like found out at the end of the semester, or on the last day of classes, that she's actually acted in like a show for like her whole life.
Cool.
Like
Wait, that's so cool.
so interesting. So you meet a lot of cool people. The professors are always like amazing. Knock on wood, I haven't met like a bad cinematic arts professor. They're all super chill, super accomplished. You like hear about a lot of things they've been on of their or they've worked on, and it's like inspiring. Like the professor whose screenwriting class I'm taking now worked on a lot of episodes of Loud House, and I was like, that's really cool. Harry Potter. My editing professor worked on like a lot of big like documentaries. There was like a rom-com that everyone was like raving about, and she was like, "Oh yeah, like I edited that. Like I was the main editor on that." And I was like,
That's so cool.
they're super accomplished, and then the people in your class are super cool, and you never know who's gonna make it big. So yeah, I'd like totally recommend. Again, whatever you're passionate about, if cinema's not your niche, don't do it. But if you do enjoy it, USC is the like I can't believe I would have done it at any other school, but like I'm so glad I was at USC to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on this podcast, Ishaani.
Hi, my name is Cedric Bagwell. I'm a freshman biomedical engineering major from rural Pennsylvania, and I have a minor in human rights.
Cool. And what made you decide to pursue your minor?
So I've kind of always been interested in equity and just general human rights causes. As someone from a rural area of the country, I saw how inequity on a national scale causes problems for people. So coming into university, I knew that I wanted to do something with my BME education that would be able to provide that sort of equity. So the human rights minor was kind of a path through there.
That's so cool. So you think that your minor like ties into your major at all? Or to
I
your
think
future
so.
career path?
I think so. I like as BME like goes, generally we're working a lot with patients, and also I'm a pre-med BME. There's a large obviously expectation through doctors taking care of people and medical technology that human rights becomes a factor. So I think it gives me a pretty good idea of like what the international law surrounding different things like medical care stands currently.
Hi there, it's Brooke, one of your Viterbi admission counselors with your mid-podcast message. I want to tell you about our year-round on-campus Visit Viterbi experiences. They're the best way to get to know more about our Viterbi programs. It's a 90-minute session focused on first-year applicants, and it includes an overview of our academic programs and admission process. It's led by one of our very own USC Viterbi admission counselors. So if you'd like to join us on campus, we would love to meet you. Please visit viterbi.link/events, that's VITERBI.link/events to reserve your Visit Viterbi experience. Now back to the podcast.
Super cool. Yeah, that's definitely a really good reason to pick a minor. That's so exciting. Do you know what school is your minor housed under?
So it's housed under Dornsife in the political science department. So that's
Oh,
also
okay.
part of the reason why I chose the minor was that political science as a minor is 24 credits, which is about 6 classes, whereas human rights is 18 credits, which works out to 4 classes and then one internship,
Oh,
which
wait,
that
that's so
internship,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, no. So like in a lot of those human rights internships, can be done online. So they work out pretty well to place in like a senior fall or senior spring. So it worked a lot better with my schedule, given that BME and any engineering tends to have very few slots. So I used like the credits that I had from taking AP Calc in high school to open up my schedule, as well as taking more credits earlier on in my USC time.
Yeah, so to fit in your courses, did you have to like apply for AAA or are you planning to do any summer classes?
So that's kind of a situation I'm trying to figure out right now. So I came in freshman fall and took Math 229, and then the next class you take after that is Math 245. And I am currently debating on whether to take 245 over the summer at a community college in the LA area or back home in Pennsylvania, or to take it as an extra class using AAA next fall semester. So I think I'm more so leaning towards taking 5 classes in the fall as I'm doing research over the summer. I want to dedicate my time to that.
And are you going to need to do something like that again, or is this the one time you have to like mess around with your schedule?
I think this is the one time because of that 4 credit slot. Uh, the reason for taking 245 in this semester is just so that I can meet prereq requirements for other classes. But as a whole, it works out where I only have to take about 16 credits and then in one semester, 14 credits to fit in my minor just because of my AP credit and everything. Had I not had that AP credit, I definitely would be doing more AAA semesters.
Yeah, I think like it's definitely possible to get a minor without AP credit, but it's a lot easier if you do have AP credit.
Yeah,
Have you taken any courses for your minor yet?
I did. So that was part of my introduction into the minor and like its existence, I guess, was my freshman fall. I took my GEC, which is the international human rights class. So it's in the social
Social
analysis
analysis,
category.
yeah.
Yeah. So the class is the introductory class you need for the minor, or it counts as a poli-sci minor credit, I believe. So I kind of took it as like am I interested in the human rights aspect of politics, or do I want to focus more on like the general political atmosphere and try and like figure out how to fit those extra two classes there? So yeah, I've now taken the introductory course. So now I have to take two international rights classes and one national rights class, which those can be in the poli-sci, the international relations, anthropology, or religion departments of Dorrance Life.
That's so cool. So you can kind of like choose what you're more interested in, like customize it.
Yeah, so the minor works by it gives you a list of like I'd say probably 15 international classes and 15 national classes. And you kind of just get to pick whatever three you are the most interested in. So I'm taking a international politics of gender class at some point. This is all given that scheduling works out, but these are the credits I'm planning to take. And then there's a sexuality and gender studies class through the sexuality and gender studies department. And there's one more, but I'm blanking. So
wait, I didn't even know some of these departments existed. That's so cool. So it's like your minor has a lot more flexibility than my minor. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, definitely a lot of the more humanities-based minors have a lot of this, like you get to pick. I know if people are more interested in healthcare, the healthcare studies minor also does a similar thing.
Yeah, the Spanish minor does like you get to choose, but you have to take 5 upper division Spanish classes, and so you kind of do have to take most of them.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Like, yeah. So how has it been? I mean, you're still a freshman, but how has it been balancing like an engineering major with a non-engineering minor? Is that going well?
Yeah, I think it honestly is kind of assisted my engineering education where, like I was saying, BME is as a field of engineering is often dictated by a lot of human rights. Like when you're applying biomedical technology to an international scale, you have to be able to make sure that technology is equitable, and that comes from this international legislation that I'm studying through my minor. So that was kind of like why I chose it, was that it almost supplements a lot of the discussions that we have in class on how is this technology being applied. I now have a greater background in how on an international scale that works.
Oh, yeah, that's super cool. Do you have any advice you would give to a younger engineering student or a incoming student who's interested in pursuing a minor?
I think just get very familiar with your advisor. Like,
yes, we love
schedule
Chris.
extra meetings if needed. But generally at USC, there's almost always a way to fit a minor if you are willing to work hard enough for it. Which that does tend to be a question of, do you truly want this minor, or do you want to say you have a minor? Because that's also a question to ask, because a lot of these programs have stipulations where you have to maintain a certain GPA to stay in certain funding brackets so that you're not paying extra money to get these credits.
Yeah, adding on to that, if you're not, me and Cedric are both BME pre-med, so we do have like a lot of credits. If you are not pre-med engineering, you most likely don't need to apply for AAA to get a minor.
That's so true.
AAA just lets you take extra credits in one semester so that you don't pay extra money for taking an extra class on top of your usual 16 to 18 credits. But yeah, like Cedric said, definitely making sure you are very invested in your minor before you start trying to fit in all these extra classes and potentially applying for additional funding is super important.
Yeah. And if you're not sure, if you know you want to do a minor, but you're not really sure what minor to do, I would say take advantage of your GEs, because all of those GEs, at least in my experience, almost every single GE is like the prereq needed for a minor. So if you're interested in a certain topic, take the GE in that class because you're still meeting a degree requirement, and then assess from there, do you want to continue with this content? Which on that note, like take your GEs earlier, and then so that you have more room to take your minor classes later, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's definitely super good advice. Do you have any advice about balancing coursework with having like humanities and like policy classes with like our math and physics and engineering?
I think like balancing time just is an interesting experience when it comes to college because if you're coming from high school to college in the way that many USC students are, is time that used to be extracurriculars from the end of like 3 o'clock till midnight sort of deal has now become that's your study or like occasionally club meetings, depending on what organizations you're involved in. But I think just using your first semester to figure out when can I study, when am I most effective at studying, and is the studying I'm doing useful? Because at some point, when you're taking credits in a variety of different fields, you need to be as efficient as possible. And that might not necessarily mean studying to a 100%, but to a like 93. So, because at that point, you're still receiving the same grade, but now you have more room to study for a different topic.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely just giving yourself a little more like leeway is really helpful. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I guess just fight on.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, guys. My name is Matthew. I'm a third year student in biomedical engineering, and I'm getting ready to apply to medical school in a couple of months.
Cool. And what is your minor?
My minor's in Spanish.
Awesome. And what made you decide to pursue a minor in Spanish?
Yeah, so I've been learning Spanish in school since I was about 12 years old. So it's been almost 10 years, which is crazy. But it's just something that I've always been really passionate about. I grew up in Arizona, so similar to California, there's a very large Latino population, and I always felt that it was important to be able to communicate with my community. So it's just always something I really cared about and put a lot of effort into. And when I was applying to college, I was like said that that's what I was going to do a minor in Spanish or a double major, and it just ended up that the minor worked out better for me. But anyway, it was something that I always said I was going to do, so decided I had to make it happen.
Super cool. And then does your minor relate to your future career path? Do you see it like helping you in medicine? I would assume it
Yeah,
would, but you
no,
can elaborate.
100%. 100%. I plan to stay throughout my life, like in the southern southwest part of the United States. So either back in Arizona or out here in California. Um, so I really anticipate, especially as the Latino population in the United States grows continuously, I definitely anticipate it being super helpful to me as I really work to serve my community, and help those, especially that are really in need or underprivileged as far as medicine goes. And even now, as I do a lot of different clinical volunteering opportunities, I almost solely speak Spanish to the patients that I work with. So definitely, I see it being super useful to me in the future.
Yeah, I'm a Spanish minor too, actually, and I also pretty much solely speak Spanish to all the people, so definitely
Yeah,
really useful. Um, can you talk a little bit about like the coursework in your minor and how you fit it into like the BME pre-med track as well?
for sure. Yeah, the courses for the Spanish minor are actually really great. The Spanish department here is honestly really excellent. They have lot of really great professors, and I've loved all the classes that I've taken so far. I was fortunate, so the minor itself has technically requires 6 classes, so that would be 24 units. But the lower division class that requires Spanish 260 can be waived if you have a 5 on AP Literature or Language from high school. Um, but anyway, so I was able to waive that course. So I had to take 5 classes, and I was able to fit it because one of the classes that you can take is double counted as a general education class. So it counts as a GEB for anyone who already knows what that is. But so that was nice because I was able to double count that one. And then the other class, I did a Maymester in Argentina. And that class, technically, you're registered for it in the spring semester, but you don't actually do the class during the spring. You only do it in May after the semester is over. So that semester, I just did 20 units, but I only actually took like 16 units worth of real classes. So anyway, like those two things allowed me to have enough space to fit all the classes. And I'm actually finishing up my minor with my last class currently.
So cool. I was actually planning to do that exact same thing, so we've probably
Yeah,
talked to the
no,
same
definitely
advisor.
recommend it.
Do you have any advice for people who are like younger engineering students or who are like high schoolers coming into school who are interested in pursuing a minor about like
Yeah, no,
balancing courses or like life in general?
100%, 100%. I really think it's a excellent opportunity to do something other than engineering that's just like completely not related to it. Um, I really, honestly, my Spanish classes have been probably some of my favorite classes I've taken at USC, just because it's something that I'm passionate about, and I think the material is really interesting. And it's just such a nice break from the more like quantitative, hardcore aspects of engineering. It's a lot more chill, a little bit more interesting, a different way to kind of engage intellectually with different kind of material. So I would definitely recommend to people who are thinking about pursuing a minor, do something that you care about, do something that you think is fun and interesting, and maybe do something outside of engineering. Like I have another friend who's in biomedical engineering who is doing a minor in cinematic arts, for example.
Yeah, we interviewed
Again,
her earlier in this
yeah.
podcast, actually.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a part of BSA as well, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
Anyway, so I definitely would recommend it to anybody. And I feel like that's something USC emphasizes a lot with like the idea of the engineering plus. Um, so for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Can you talk a little bit about the resources that USC has for people, like how you have like a minor advisor, things like that?
Yeah, no, USC is great because they definitely, at least within the engineering school, provide a lot of like advising resources. And I feel like uh, my BME advisor is really great because he's really willing to help figure out, how do you fit all these classes in? How do you make sure it happens? And then the same thing with the advisor for the Spanish minor. Like you get an advisor from both departments, which is really cool to make sure that the two, tracks can combine and work together and you're able to fit everything, which I think is really helpful. Yeah, not really. I mean, I just think overall it's been a good experience. I enjoy
Oh,
it. USC
yeah.
has a lot to offer, so I feel like taking advantage of like a different variety of things is really cool just because it is such a great university with so many different things to learn about.
Yeah,
Another cool
definitely.
thing for anyone that's interested, when you graduate, there's a thing that you can apply for called the Renaissance Scholar, where basically if you have done two like different either major, double major or minor, you can get that distinction when you graduate as someone who's like done like for example like biomedical engineering and Spanish would be considered like very different fields. So if you have certification in like two different areas, that's something that you can apply for when you graduate as like a new distinction for anyone that's interested in that.
Oh, that's so cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Hi, my name is Hidaya Rajput. I'm a sophomore at USC studying biomedical engineering with a minor in human rights.
Cool. And what made you decide to pursue your minor?
I've just honestly been really interested in human rights, and I've been getting a little bit more into activism since being in college. And as I've gone into it, I realized I didn't have a lot of education to back up what I was passionate about. And so I thought the best way to go about that was to declare my minor.
Wait, that's really, really cool. Oh my gosh. Does your minor relate at all to your major or your future career path, or is it more just focused on because you want to be more involved in activism?
I would say it is involved a little bit. Being a biomedical engineer, there's a lot of patients that aren't advocated for, especially with the healthcare system being as flawed as it is. So having that background and that knowledge, I think, allows you to think about more of your patients, which sometimes we don't think about on the engineering side. So I think it gives me a good background into being able to serve people who really, really need it.
That's really cool. Are you pre-med or are you fully engineering?
I'm pre-med.
Yeah, okay. So is Cedric and me, so that makes sense. Um, so you are a sophomore. Do you bring up your minor in like interviews for internships or research positions or anything?
Yeah, I often get asked about it because I feel like it's a bit of a unique combination. So it is something that comes up.
Cool. And how does it work for you to fit in your minor courses around your major coursework and your pre-med requirements?
One of the best things, one of the best ways that worked was I think 2 or 3 of my minor classes are double counting for GEs.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
that's pretty much the only way that I could fit it in. I took one class over the summer, I think, to make room. Yeah, I took one class over the summer to make room for one extra class that I needed to take. And then I'm just taking like max credits every semester.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad the double counting is definitely super helpful. I'm so glad that they do that. Um, so what coursework does your minor entail? What courses have you been taking?
It's a kind of a mix. So to start, I took a class called International Human Rights, which double counted for a GE, which for two GEs, which was super, super nice. And it kind of just went through the history of documents that have outlined human rights over time. And then right now, I mean, this is the second course I'm taking for my minor. It's focusing on human rights and how they developed in 18th century Enlightenment era Europe.
That's so cool. So do you get like a little bit of freedom with which classes you choose to take within your minor then?
There is the International Human Rights course was required. And then after that, you take, there's a choices of like a list of 10 to 12 um, classes in two categories, and you just take two classes from each category. And so there's pretty variety. I will say a lot of the courses that are listed though aren't offered anymore at USC.
Oh,
So
shoot.
sometimes it's deceiving how many there are, but the counselor for my minor is really cool, and it's kind of like if you find a class that you want to take and you can like prove that it will help you, like we'll try to get it improved. So that's pretty cool. And then for human rights, we're also required 2 units of community involvement, whether that's research or an internship.
That's awesome. Have you done that yet, or do you know what you're going to do for that?
I am going to try to do research this summer.
Oh, super cool. Um, how have you balanced being an engineering major with having such an interesting and very much not engineering minor?
I honestly really like the break from engineering, especially in pre-med as well. I feel like I do math, science all day. So it's kind of a good break to just be able to be in a class where the main method of learning is discussion. It's kind of refreshing. And then as terms of balance, it's always, I think it always comes back to time management. As long as you manage everything, use your GCal, I think you'll be okay.
Oh, cool. Do you have any advice you would want to give to a younger engineering student or to a high schooler coming into college who's interested in pursuing a minor?
I would say pursue a minor that you're interested in, like truly interested in, because that's the best way to get something positive out of your experience with it. I know a lot of us come in as like pre-med freshmen and we're like healthcare studies or like maybe like some kind of pre-med minor to make ourselves more competitive, but really truly follow something that you're passionate about, and that will be a much better experience.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
My name is Dominic Delatroy. I'm a sophomore here at USC. I'm originally from San Diego, California, so not too far from LA. I'm majoring in biomedical engineering with the molecular cellular engineering emphasis, and I have a minor in healthcare studies.
Cool. And what made you decide to pursue a minor in healthcare studies?
Mhm. So, coming into school, I knew that I wanted to be on the pre-health track. So, I definitely wanted to pick a minor that kind of had some applications into more medicine and pre-health. And I found it during like one of my orientation calls. I didn't know about it at all, but I thought it was pretty cool just looking at the classes that we had to take. And although it is quite a pretty big minor, there were a lot of overlap between the classes that I had to take from BME and the classes that I had to take for the minor as well. So I thought it was a pretty good balance. And yeah, I think what made me pursue it was just the classes in general because they were more kind of seminar based and dealing with as they say within the minor, kind of the art of medicine rather than just like the science behind it. So yeah.
That's so cool. Do you think like this minor will be like helpful for you in the future with like med school interviews and such?
Yeah, I think it definitely would be helpful just from like all the teachers that I've had. Um, I think all of the teachers in the minor are pretty much practicing physicians or were practicing physicians at Tech.
That's
So
cool.
they definitely have a lot of insight into the medical school application process. They're isn't a class where they don't mention medical school or just like being in practice. And I think the content that's being learned is definitely useful for medical school in general, or just practicing medicine in general. So, like one of the classes we had to learn about HIPAA and various like legislation surrounding like medical practice. And then for my one of my other classes, it we learned about a bunch of diseases and things like that, but it was very chill. And then right now I'm kind of in like a neuroscience, like neuroanatomy class. So that's been pretty interesting, and it's definitely helped me to kind of develop skills and critical thinking into how to diagnose a patient. We do a lot of case studies where we're given like results of like a physical exam or chief complaints that a patient has. And then from there, we have to kind of make a diagnosis. That was pretty much all of what we did for our midterm. So I think definitely it's given me more of an exposure of what medicine looks like outside of the hard sciences that I kind of have to do for pre-med requirements outside of like organic chemistry, physics. And they do like to talk about it being kind of the art of medicine and just being able to like develop more like empathy and compassion when dealing with patients, and just yeah, some other things you wouldn't think about other than the basic hard sciences when you're practicing medicine.
That's so interesting. So cool.
Yeah.
Um, Wait, is your minor housed under Keck? Like, what school is it under?
Yeah, so it is under Keck, and I think that's the only school it's under, I'm pretty sure. But definitely do like pursuing a minor that's not engineering because gives you more breadth and also, I guess, kind of two schools that you can kind of be in contact with and like have resources for.
Oh, are your classes here on the University Park campus or are they over at the med school?
So most of the classes are on the University Park campus. So just various buildings here at UPC. But there are some classes that are on the health science campus. So there's one cadaveric anatomy class.
That's
That,
so cool. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I was thinking about taking it, but also cadaveric anatomy seems kind of scary. And also the commute. Um,
Yeah.
so- but yeah, most of the classes are here at UPC. They're very seminar style. Not not I don't think any of them really have like a lab component in general. It's just mainly just like lectures and seminars and guest speakers. But one class does come to mind when thinking about like commuting to HSC, and it's that cadaveric anatomy class.
Cool. And how does it work to fit your coursework in around your major? Because I know like pre-med BME is a lot of classes already. Did you have to apply for AAA or anything?
Mhm. So theoretically, if I didn't decide to pursue or want to pursue like a progressive degree program here at USC, which is kind of like um um a master's degree with less requirements, then I wouldn't have needed to pursue the Academic Achievement Award, which allows around 20 to 21 units free of charge rather than just the max 18 that comes with standard tuition. But since I wanted to free up space in my senior year to start taking more graduate courses, I started doing the 20 units a semester since the beginning of my sophomore year. So pretty much last semester, I took 20 units, and then this semester I'm also taking 20 units as well, just to free up more space. But the minor is, although it's pretty big, I would say, compared to other minors. It's definitely doable. You don't have to do academic achievement award. A lot of people don't have to do it for the minor in general. They can finish it within the 4 years. It also depends on how many credits you come in with as well, and I guess your majors too. Um, there are a few classes that do overlap with just like standard pre-med requirements as well as uh, the BME requirements as well. So one of the, I guess, lower division courses for the minor is like BIS 220, I think, and Chem 115B or Chem 105B. But yeah, those are like standard classes that you would have to take for pre-med and for BME in general. So that kind of like waives pretty much 8 units from the minor already.
Cool. And how is balancing 20 credits? Is that going? Yeah, how are you doing that?
It's definitely a lot. So, but I will say it's not too bad in hindsight because most of my healthcare studies classes or like what I like to call like the meds class, since that's kind of the code within RepReg, it's pretty manageable because most of them don't really have that much homework in it, don't really have that many tests as well. It's not like a really hard science class where you have like 4 midterms throughout the semester. You're kind of like having to study, do active recall, and things like that. They kind of really want to gauge or really want you to learn the content rather than you just like regurgitate information. So most of my kind of exams within that class are, take home, complete at your own time, and they are just like kind of an essay format as well. So not like super high stakes tests or things like that. So yeah, in terms of rigor, it's not too bad. So it's pretty easy to implement within a full course load within like BME and pre-med requirements. And they're honestly like one of my more chiller classes.
Oh, that's good. Do you have any advice for a younger engineering student or a high school student who's considering going the engineering with a non-engineering minor track?
Uh-huh. I would say one piece of advice that I do have is definitely do start early if you are thinking about pursuing a minor that's not in veterinary. Um, and also ask older students as well. There are plenty of other older students like um, ourselves in this podcast, or just like people within a club you meet, or just in general that you meet throughout your years here at USC that have pursued minors outside of USC and or outside of USC Viterbi, sorry. And they'll be able to help you on that as well, just in terms of course planning, if it's even doable. And then I would also talk to your advisor as well. Our advisor, Chris, is super helpful in
Love Chris.
yeah, I love Chris wanting to pursue a minor, like a progressive degree, even another major, if you can even fit that. Um, So yeah. And then also if you're an incoming or an incoming student here at USC, I definitely recommend seeing if you can maybe free up some extra space in your class schedule by taking things at community college or things like that. So you have just even more space to take more of your minor. But in general, I'd say a minor is pretty doable, even if you don't come in with that many credits as well. Engineering can be pretty difficult in general, especially when it comes to class rigor and just how many classes there are. But for the most part, a lot of my friends have been able to pursue minors, even if they, didn't come in with the max allowable transfer credits for APs or dual enrollment. So in general, I think it is very doable just to like pursue a minor. So yeah,
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
of course.
And we're back. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing us that lovely episode. I think it's always a good reminder that you can kind of dabble in anything outside of Viterbi as well. I think a lot of prospective students kind of get stuck in a Viterbi bubble, and they don't realize that they can kind of explore anything at USC that they would like to and that they're interested in. So I think this was an awesome reminder.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to hear about all the different things that all of these people are doing, and it's really cool to hear about how passionate everyone is about their different minors.
Was this part of your decision process in choosing a university? Was that an important priority of yours?
Yeah, definitely. I'm doing a Spanish minor and I wanted to be able to get to do that. So right away in freshman fall, I met with my advisor to be like, hey, how can we make this work? Let's work it into the course plan. And it worked out.
Why'd you
Fantastic.
specifically choose a Spanish minor?
I've been speaking Spanish and learning Spanish since I was about 5 years old.
Hmm.
So I wanted to continue getting to do that and so that I can keep learning Spanish and being immersed into that so that I'm on the pre-med track and I
Mhm.
want to be able to treat my patients in both Spanish and in English just so I can help a wider variety of people, especially in the Los Angeles area where we have a lot of Spanish speaking people. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool. All right. So, Safia, how is your spring break wrapping up? Are you still enjoying your downtime doing nothing?
I didn't get out of bed like all day yesterday, except to like bake some cookies. So I'm doing great.
Living your best life. Living
Yeah.
your best life. And Sarah, your spring break back at home, has it just been a nice downtime rest or any other
Yeah,
big
it's
things
been
that happened?
pretty low key. I've been sick for like half of it, but
Oh,
I'm finally feeling better, so I made some bagels this morning. So that's been
Cool.
cool.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, hopefully you're feeling better to get back on a plane because I that definitely happens to me when you're kind of go go go, your adrenaline kind of takes over, and the minute you shut down for a minute, I go through
Yeah.
like my travel seasons, and then the minute my last trip's over that next weekend, I'm usually sick. Like I'm just like, blah, gotta go down. So
Yep,
it's
I think
definitely
that's what
something.
happened to me too.
Yeah.
sorry,
So
tangent. But just the way she said bagels, like I can tell she's not from
I
California.
know people make fun of me so much when I say like bag or like anything with like that A sound in it. It's
I missed
definitely
it. I missed it. Oh my God, I didn't hear it. So wait, go say it again. Sorry.
bag,
So what did you have for breakfast this morning?
bagel,
No, I don't hear it. Safi, you hearing it?
Bagel. Like like wait, say bag.
bag.
See like
Oh,
that.
I heard bag. Yeah, but bagel, I think bagel is appropriate. But you stuff thing in your you stuff things into your bag.
Yes.
Yeah, see, there you go. I like that look. I wish people saw the look. It's like, yeah, of course you do. Awesome. Do you get called on the accent a lot?
Not so much except for like bag. Everything else, people just let it slide.
That's the one. That's the one thing that gets you that gets you caught there, huh?
Yep.
Have you noticed that? Have you noticed it changing at all since you've been
I
basically here for like
have the
six
other
months?
day I noticed I picked up kind of the stereotypical Valley Girl inflection on some
Mm.
words and I was like,
Oh,
"Oh no, what's happening to me? This is terrible.
oh
I
Give
need
an
no.
to I
example
need
of
to
a
go
word.
touch some grass or something." Um, but no, I think I've kept it for the most part.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, Sarah, thanks so much for bringing this episode to us. And thank you, listener, for joining us for this episode of Viterbi Voices. Stay tuned next week for another new episode coming to your earballs soon. Bye. I don't know, earballs? What, ears?
Oh,
Ears?
I just wasn't expecting earballs to be the
I
last
don't know
one.
where that came from. I was trying to come up with something cute and it didn't work. Now it just sounds
We could
weird.
workshop that.
We'll workshop it. Come into your ears, come into your ear holes. No, that doesn't work either.
Oh, I don't like that either.
But it's like, it's coming to your ears. Anyway, we'll be back next week with a whole other episode of Viterbi Voices. Okay, bye.